The space around the old battlefields was dark and cold. Captain Hyun-woo Park looked out through the thick glass of his ship's bridge. His mining vessel, the Daehan Glory, moved slowly through the Cygnus debris field. This was where old wars had been fought long ago. Now it was just a graveyard of broken ships and twisted metal. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings on the scanner," said Bo-Ram Kim from her seat at the navigation controls. Her fingers moved quickly over the buttons and screens. "There's something big out there, really big." Hyun-woo walked over to look at her screen. He had been doing salvage work for 15 years. He knew what old ship parts looked like on scanners. This was different. "How big are we talking about?" "At least 10 kilometers long. Maybe more." Bo-Ram's voice was quiet with surprise. "The energy readings don't make sense either. It's like the thing is still powered up." Taemin Lee looked up from his engineering station. He was young but smart about machines and electronics. "That's impossible. Nothing stays powered in the debris field. The radiation kills all the electronics after a few years." So Young Choi, their communications officer, was checking her equipment. "I'm not picking up any distress signals or automated messages, but there's definitely some kind of low-level transmission coming from that direction." Hyun-woo felt his heartbeat faster. In all his years of salvage work, he had never found anything this interesting. Most of what they found were small pieces of old fighters or broken cargo ships. If this was really a big ship, and if it still had power, it could make them all rich. "Set course for the energy source," he ordered. "But go slow. I don't want to run into anything we can't see." The Daehan Glory turned toward the strange readings. As they got closer, their screens began to show more details. What they saw made them all stop talking. It was a ship, but not just any ship. This was enormous. It looked like a giant metal city floating in space. The hull was dark gray and covered, with gun turrets and launch bays. Along the side, they could see letters painted in white. UHS Baekdu. UHS, whispered Taemin. "That's United Human Systems, but that's impossible. The UHS disappeared over 200 years ago." Hyun-woo stared at the massive ship. He had heard stories about the old human empire. His grandmother used to tell him tales about when humans ruled many star systems and had the biggest fleet in the galaxy. But those were just stories. Everyone knew humans had always been a small, weak species. "Run a full scan," he told his crew. "I want to know everything about this ship." The scanners worked for several minutes. What they found was amazing. The ship was in perfect condition. No damage to the hull. No signs of battle. The power systems were running at low levels, but they were running. Even more strange, the ship seemed to be maintaining itself. Tiny repair robots moved along the outside, fixing small problems and keeping everything clean. "Captain," said Bo-Ram, "according to these readings, this ship it's a supercarrier, the biggest class of warship the old human fleet ever built. If the database is right, it could carry over 5,000 fighter ships and had enough firepower to destroy entire fleets." Hyun-woo felt dizzy. They had found something that belonged in a museum, or maybe in a history book that people thought was full of lies. "Any signs of life aboard?" So Young checked her instruments. "I'm detecting very low life support activity in some sections, but no life signs. It's like the ship is waiting for someone." "Waiting for what?" "I don't know. Maybe waiting for orders." Hyun-woo made his decision. "We're going aboard. Taemin, grab the portable power units and scanning equipment. Bo-Ram, plot us a course to one of those docking bays. So Young, record everything. If we don't make it back, at least someone will know what we found. The docking bay they chose was large enough to hold their entire mining ship. As the Dahan Glory settled onto the deck, lights began turning on around them, the bay filled with breathable air. Systems that had been sleeping for centuries were waking up just because they had arrived. When they stepped out of their ship, Hyunwoo felt like he was walking through a dream. The docking bay was huge and clean. Everything looked new, even though he knew it was older than anyone alive. Their footsteps echoed in the vast space. "This way," said Taemin, following his scanner readings toward what looked like the main corridor. "The power source is deeper in the ship." They walked through, hallways wide enough for small vehicles. The walls were covered with symbols and writing in old human script. Some of the words Hyunwoo could read, but others were in languages he didn't know. Everything was lit by soft blue lights that turned on as they approached and turned off after. "They passed. It's like the ship knows we're here," whispered Bo-Ram. They found a lift that took them up several levels. When the doors opened, they were standing in what looked like the ship's command center. It was enormous. Hundreds of control stations surrounded a raised platform in the center. On the main wall was a screen bigger than Hyunwoo's entire ship. They walked into the command center. More systems came to life. Screens flickered on. Control panels lit up with thousands of lights. And then they heard a voice. "Identification required," the voice said in perfect, clear human language. "Please state your authorization codes." The four salvagers looked at each other. None of them had authorization codes for a ship that had been lost for 2 centuries. We don't have codes," Hyunwoo said to the air. "We're salvagers. We found this ship by accident." There was a long pause. Then the voice spoke again, and this time it sounded different, more curious than demanding. "Salvagers. Human salvagers. How long has this vessel been inactive?" "According to our records, the UHS fleet disappeared about 200 years ago," Hyunwoo answered. Another pause. 237 years, 4 months, 16 days, the voice said. "This unit has been in hibernation mode, beginning full system activation. Please, stand by." The command center came alive around them. Every screen turned on. The air filled with the soft hum of computers and machines. Status reports began appearing faster than they could read them. "What are you?" asked So Young. "I am Aegis 7, the artificial intelligence system of the UHS Baekdu. I have been waiting for new orders from Human Command Authority. Are you here to reactivate this vessel?" Hyunwoo looked at his small crew. They were just salvagers looking for scrap metal to sell. Now they had accidentally woken up what might be the most powerful warship ever built. "I think we need to call someone," he said quietly. But as he spoke, he wondered, who do you call when you find a ghost from humanity's forgotten past? And what would happen to the galaxy when word got out that humans had once been powerful enough to build ships like this? The Baekdu was awake now, and everything was about to change. 3 days later, the mining ship Dahan Glory was no longer alone in the debris field. 2 military ships from the Terran Colonial Defense Force floated nearby. Chief Engineer Dong Hyun Yoon and AI Specialist Mi Jin Han had arrived with a team of experts to study the ancient Supercarrier. Inside the Baekdu's main computer core, Mi Jin worked carefully with the ship's artificial intelligence. The room was filled with glowing crystals and complex machinery that hummed softly. This technology was far more advanced than anything humans use today. "Aegis 7? Can you tell us about your last mission?" Mi Jin asked, her hands moving over. a control panel that seemed to respond to her thoughts as much as her touch. The AI's voice filled the room. It sounded almost human, with emotions and personality. My last clear memory is from Stardate 2156-344. The Bekdu was leading the defense of the Kepler colonies against the Thragonic invasion fleet. We had just received orders to fall back to... The voice stopped suddenly. "Fall back where?" asked Dong-hyun from his position at the engineering station. He was amazed by what he was seeing. The ship's power systems were more efficient than anything modern humans had built. They produced 10 times more energy while using less fuel. "That information is classified," Aegis 7 replied. "However, I can tell you that the mission was successful. The Thragonics were repelled, and human space was secured." Mi-jin frowned. She had studied all the history books. There was no record of humans ever fighting a species called Thragonics. In fact, according to everything she knew, humans had never been powerful enough to fight major space wars. Aegis 7, our history says, that humans were always a minor species in the galaxy. We've never ruled multiple star systems or had big fleets. "Your history is incomplete," the AI said simply. "Humans were the dominant military power in this galaxy for over 400 years. The United Human Systems controlled 847 star systems and protected 23 allied species. This was impossible." Dong-hyun and Mi-jin looked at each other in shock. If this was true, then everything they thought they knew about human history was wrong. "What happened to this empire?" Mi-jin asked. "We left," Aegis 7 said, "by choice. The leadership decided that direct control was preventing other species from reaching their full potential. The Great Withdrawal began in 2157. But why? If humans were so powerful, why give it up?" The AI was quiet for a moment, as if searching through old memories. "Because true strength is knowing when not to use your power. Humans had developed technologies that could reshape planets, create artificial suns, and travel faster than light in ways other species couldn't imagine. But ruling through fear and superior weapons was making us into something we didn't want to be." As Aegis 7 spoke, more of the ship's systems came online. In the weapons bays, massive cannons that could destroy cities powered up for the first time in centuries. Fighter craft in the launch bays began running self-diagnostics. The ship's manufacturing systems started producing spare parts and ammunition. Captain Jin Hoseo arrived from one of the military ships with troubling news. "We've been monitoring alien communication channels," he told the team. "Word is starting to spread about the discovery. Several species have sent scout ships toward this sector." "What kind of species?" asked Dong-hyun. "The Zephyrian Trade Consortium is very interested. So is the Militant Hegemony. But the most concerning is the Ethereal Collective. They're sending what looks like a research fleet." Mi-jin turned back to Aegis 7. "What can you tell us about these species?" "Accessing files," the AI replied. Suddenly, detailed information appeared on screens around the room. "The Zephyrians are primarily merchants with a strong military arm. Current fleet strength, 847 major vessels. Primary weakness: their ships require rare fuel that can be disrupted. The Militant Hegemony has 1-200 warships, but poor coordination between different clans. The Ethereal Collective is the most dangerous with advanced shields and 2100 vessels, but they are vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies." Everyone stared at the screens. The information was incredibly detailed. Ship designs, weapon specifications, tactical weaknesses, even the names and psychological profiles of important leaders. "How do you know all this?" asked Captain Jin Ho. "Standard intelligence gathering." All UHS vessels maintain detailed files on potential threats and allies. This data is automatically updated through our sensor network. What sensor network? Mi-Jin asked. The network of monitoring stations and automated platforms that were left in place during the Great Withdrawal. They have been observing and recording galactic activity for the past 237 years. The room went silent. This meant that humans had been secretly watching the entire galaxy for over 2 centuries. Every war, every treaty, every technological development. Humans had been recording it all. Are these monitoring stations still active? Asked Dong-hyun. Yes. Would you like me to establish contact with the network? Captain Jin-ho spoke quickly. Wait. Before you do anything, we need to understand what we're dealing with. Aegis 7. If humans had all this technology and power, why didn't we stay in control of the galaxy? The AI's answer changed everything they thought they knew about their own species, because humans discovered something more important than power. We learned that true civilization requires diversity of thought and experience. By controlling other species, we were limiting not just their growth, but our own. The decision was made to step back and let the galaxy develop naturally, while maintaining the ability to intervene if truly dangerous threats emerged. What kind of threats? Asked Mi-Jin. Species that would destroy rather than build. Civilizations. That would end the possibility of growth for everyone. The Baekdu and vessels like it were left as guardians, ready to awaken if such threats appeared. Captain Jin-ho felt a chill run down his spine. And now we've awakened you. Does that mean such a threat exists? Unknown. However, analysis of galactic political structures suggests several concerning developments. The current balance of power is unstable. Without guidance, there is a 67% probability of galaxy-wide conflict within the next decade. As if responding. To Aegis 7's words, So-young's voice came over the communication system. Captain Jin-ho, we're detecting multiple fleets moving toward our position. The Ethereal Collective has at least 50 ships incoming. The militant hegemony is sending a war fleet. And there are others. Dong-hyun looked at the massive ship around. Them. Just one vessel, but according to Aegis 7, it had the power to face entire fleets. What are your capabilities if we're attacked? The Baekdu is equipped with quantum torpedoes, gravitational field manipulators, matter conversion cannons, and shielding systems based on controlled space-time distortion. Additionally, I can produce and launch 5,000 fighter craft within 6 hours if needed. Mi-Jin's hands shook as she realized what they had found. This wasn't just an old warship. This was a weapon system beyond anything the current galaxy had ever seen. And if other ships like it existed, hidden and waiting, then humans weren't the weak species everyone thought they were. Aegis 7, she said quietly. How many ships like the Baekdu are there? That information is classified. However, I can confirm that the Baekdu was not unique. Outside the ancient supercarrier, alien fleets were gathering. Inside, a handful of humans were learning that their species had once ruled the stars and had chosen to give up that power. Now, with the galaxy heading toward chaos, the question was whether humanity would reclaim its role as guardians of civilization. The awakening had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Sang-ho Jung stood in the command center of the Terran Defense Station orbiting Earth. He had been studying the reports from the Baekdu for 3 days, and each new piece of information made the situation more incredible and more frightening. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we're receiving priority messages from 17 different star systems. Our deep space monitoring stations are all reporting the same thing." "What kind of reports?" Admiral Sang-ho asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Unknown structures are powering up throughout human space. Things that were never there before are suddenly appearing on our scanners. On the main screen, a map of human territory appeared. Red dots began lighting up across dozens of star systems. Each dot represented something that had been hidden for over 200 years and was now waking up. Back on the Baekdu, Aegis 7 was sending coded signals across the galaxy. The transmissions used frequencies and encryption methods that no current government even knew existed. But other AI systems that had been sleeping for centuries recognized the codes immediately. In the Proxima system, a small asteroid suddenly split open like a flower. Inside was a weapons platform armed with cannons that could destroy entire fleets. The platform's AI came online and began scanning space for threats. In the Wolf system, what everyone thought was a natural moon around a gas giant revealed its true nature. The moon was actually a massive shipyard. Automated factories inside began building new spacecraft using designs that were centuries ahead of current technology. Near the edge of human space, invisible sensor arrays that had been disguising themselves as cosmic dust clouds dropped their camouflage. These stations had been watching and recording everything that happened in the galaxy for over 200 years. Captain Hyun-woo was still aboard the Baekdu with his crew when Aegis 7 made an announcement that changed everything. Network synchronization complete. I now have access to 847 monitoring stations, 156 automated defense platforms, 23 hidden shipyards, and 12 major command centers. All systems report full operational status. Mi Jin-han stared at the displays showing the locations of these hidden installations. Aegis 7, you're saying that humans have had a secret military network operating for 2 centuries? Not secret. Hidden. There is a difference. The installations were never meant to be permanently concealed. They were designed to remain dormant until activation was required. Required for what? To protect galactic civilization from existential threats, or to restore human leadership if other species proved incapable of maintaining peace and stability. Dong Hyun-yoon was examining the technical specifications of the hidden installations. What he saw amazed him. These facilities are producing technologies we can't even understand. Look at this. They're manufacturing something called quantum metal that can exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. Meanwhile, alien intelligence services across the galaxy were beginning to panic. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium had sent scout ships to investigate energy anomalies in what they thought was empty space. Instead, they found weapons platforms that could track their ships from light years away. The Ethereal Collective's research vessels discovered that many of the natural phenomena they had been studying for decades were actually artificial. Nebulae that helped their ships navigate were being generated by hidden human installations. Asteroid fields that provided mining resources had been carefully arranged by human engineering. Most shocking of all, the militant hegemony learned that several of their most important military victories had been possible only because mysterious equipment failures had disabled their enemies' ships at crucial moments. Now they realized those failures had been caused by human intervention. On the planet Kepler Prime, scientist Yujin Bei was studying data from the awakening installations. She made a discovery that terrified her. "Admiral," she reported to Sang-ho, "Jung, the monitoring network has detailed records of every significant event in galactic history for the past 237 years. But more than that, it shows clear evidence of human intervention in hundreds of conflicts." What kind of intervention? Subtle things. Communication disruptions that prevented wars from starting. technological accidents that stopped genocides, resource discoveries that prevented economic collapses. It's like humans have been secretly managing the entire galaxy. Admiral Sang-ho felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Are you saying that the current galactic civilization exists because humans allowed it to exist? That's exactly what I'm saying. And if these installations can intervene to prevent conflicts, they can also intervene to cause them. The implications were staggering. Every alien species in the galaxy suddenly realized they had been living under secret human supervision for centuries. The natural balance of power between different civilizations had actually been carefully maintained by hidden human systems. Fleet Commander Woo Jin Kim was aboard one of the newly revealed installations when he made another disturbing discovery. Admiral, the manufacturing capabilities of these facilities are beyond anything we imagined. This single station could build a fleet larger than the entire current Terran Defense Force in less than 6 months. Using what resources? They don't need traditional resources. The quantum manufacturing systems can convert basic matter, even space dust, into any material needed. They can literally create warships from nothing but hydrogen atoms and energy. As news of the awakening installation spread, alien governments began holding emergency meetings. The ethereal collective called for an immediate alliance of all major species to deal with the human threat. The militant hegemony started mobilizing their entire fleet. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium tried to establish communication with the installations, hoping to negotiate trade agreements. But Aegis 7 had more revelations for the humans aboard the Baekdu. The activation sequence is now 78% complete. However, I must inform you that this vessel and the network installations represent only the visible portion of human defensive capabilities. What do you mean? Asked Captain Jin Ho Seo. During the Great Withdrawal, humans did not simply hide military assets. We embedded agents within alien governments, established commercial enterprises throughout the galaxy, and created entire artificial intelligence networks that have been operating inside alien computer systems for centuries. The room fell silent. Mi Jin Han felt like the floor was dropping out from under her. Aegis 7. Are you saying that humans have been infiltrating alien civilizations for over 200 years? Infiltrating is not the correct term. We have been participating. Many of the greatest scientists, artists, traders, and leaders among alien species have been humans using advanced biological disguises. Others have been aliens influenced by human-designed cultural and educational programs. How many? Approximately 12% of all significant political and scientific developments in the galaxy during the past 2 centuries have involved direct human participation. Captain Hyun Woo, who had started this whole chain of events by finding the Baekdu, sat down heavily in a chair. We're not the small, weak species everyone thinks we are. Correct. Humans are the most powerful and influential civilization in the galaxy. You simply chose to exercise that power indirectly. Outside the ancient Supercarrier, more alien fleets were arriving every hour. Ships from dozens of species surrounded the debris field, all wanting to understand what humanity had become. Inside the Baekdu, a small group of humans was learning that their species had never really left the galactic stage. They had just been performing from behind the curtain. The Ghost Fleet was awake. The hidden network was operational, and the galaxy was about to learn the truth about human power. Dr. Eugene Bay walked through the vast archives deep inside the Baekdu. The walls around her displayed millions of files containing 237 years of galactic history. But as she studied the records with her research team, she began to understand that this wasn't just history. It was a detailed record of the greatest deception ever carried out. "Look at this entry," she called to her assistant, Dr. Minho Chen. "The Draconian War of 2298. According to our textbooks, the war ended when both sides ran out of fuel for their fleets. But the real records show something different. The archive files revealed the truth. Human agents had been embedded in both the Draconian Empire and their enemies, the Silicon Republic. At the crucial moment, these agents had arranged for technical failures in the fuel supply systems of both fleets. The war had ended not from exhaustion, but from careful human intervention. And here, Dr. Eugene continued, pointing to another file. The Great Plague of 2341 that almost destroyed the ethereal collective. It says here that the cure was discovered by ethereal scientists after months of research. But look at this notation. The file showed that the cure had been developed by human biochemists 50 years earlier. Human agents had carefully guided ethereal researchers to the discovery, making it appear as if they had found it themselves. Aegis 7's voice filled the archive chamber. "Dr. Eugene, you are beginning to understand the scope of the Guardian Protocol." Guardian Protocol? The operational plan established during the Great Withdrawal. Humans would continue to protect and guide galactic civilization, but indirectly. Other species would be allowed to develop naturally, with intervention only to prevent existential threats or complete stagnation. Dr. Minho was studying files about technological developments. Aegis 7. It looks like almost every major scientific breakthrough in the galaxy has had some level of human involvement. Correct. When species showed promise, they received subtle guidance. When they faced insurmountable challenges, they received anonymous assistance. When they became aggressive or destructive, they encountered unexpected obstacles. Eugene found a file that made her hands tremble. The crystalline assembly's expansion into the outer rim. Everyone thought they stopped expanding because they ran out of resources. But these records show that every planet they tried to colonize suffered mysterious environmental disasters. The crystalline assembly was becoming a threat to 17 peaceful species, Aegis 7 explained. Their expansion was halted to preserve biodiversity and prevent genocide. You caused natural disasters to stop them. We redirected existing cosmic phenomena to create challenges that would discourage expansion without causing loss of life. The crystalline assembly interpreted these events as natural bad luck and focused their efforts elsewhere. As Eugene and her team continued reading, they discovered the staggering extent of human influence. The current balance of power in the galaxy hadn't evolved naturally. It had been carefully engineered. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium dominated galactic commerce not because they were the best merchants, but because human agents had taught them advanced economic theories while secretly disrupting their competitors. The militant hegemony remained fragmented into competing clans because human psychological operations had prevented them from unifying under strong leadership. Even more shocking was the discovery of the cultivation programs. These were long-term projects designed to guide promising species toward technological and cultural advancement. The bird-like aquilins had developed their famous artistic traditions after exposure to human cultural influences. The reptilian Saurians had achieved their breakthrough in quantum physics after human scientists left carefully planted research materials where Saurian researchers would find them. Aegis 7, Eugene asked. How many species in the galaxy have been influenced by these programs? All of them. Every spacefaring civilization has received some level of guidance or protection from human operations. Dr. Minho was examining military records. What about species that became too aggressive? What happened to them? Observe. Aegis 7 displayed files about several species that no longer existed. The Devourers were a species that consumed other life forms for pleasure rather than survival. They were eliminated by directed asteroid impacts that appeared to be natural cosmic accidents. You committed genocide? We prevented genocide. The Devourers had already destroyed 4 peaceful species and were preparing to consume billions more. The intervention saved approximately 847 billion lives. Eugen felt sick and amazed at the same time. Humans had been playing God with the entire galaxy for over 2 centuries. They had prevented wars, guided scientific development, stopped genocides, and eliminated threats, all while making it appear as if these events were natural or the result of alien actions. Why? She asked. Why take on such a massive responsibility? Because someone had to, Aegis 7 replied. Galactic civilization without guidance tends toward conflict and destruction. Left alone, most species either destroy themselves or destroy others. Humans developed the wisdom and technology to prevent this outcome. The archive files showed evidence of this claim. Computer models predicted what would have happened if humans had not intervened. Without the Guardian Protocol, the galaxy would have experienced at least 12 major wars, 7 genocides, and the complete destruction of 43 species. Instead, the past 2 centuries had been the most peaceful period in galactic history. But there was another side to the revelation. Woo-Jin Kim was studying the economic records and discovered something troubling. Aegis 7. These files show that humans have been profiting from the Guardian Protocol. Clarify. Human-controlled companies have made enormous profits by knowing, in advance, which technologies would succeed, which governments would fall, and which trade routes would become important. We haven't just been guardians. We've been manipulating the galaxy for economic gain. Correct. The Guardian Protocol required significant resources to maintain. Profit from carefully managed investments helped fund the protection operations. Yu-Jin realized the full implications. So humans have been the secret rulers of the galaxy for over 200 years. We've controlled politics, economics, science, and military affairs while letting everyone else think they were in charge. The term rulers is inaccurate. Humans have been custodians. The goal was never control, but guidance toward a stable and prosperous galactic civilization. And now that the secret is coming out, now the galaxy must decide whether to accept human guidance openly or attempt to reject it and face the consequences of truly independent development. Dr. Minho was looking at recent files, records of the years leading up to the Baekdu's discovery. Aegis 7, why did you allow yourself to be found? Captain Hyunwoo's mining operation found you by accident, but these records suggest you guided them to your location. Correct. Analysis indicated that galactic stability was declining. Several species were approaching technological levels that could threaten the Guardian Protocol's effectiveness. The Ethereal Collective was developing quantum detection systems that would eventually discover our installations. The decision was made to reveal human capabilities before they could be discovered accidentally. So this whole thing was planned? The timing was planned. The method of discovery was allowed to appear accidental to minimize shock and resistance. Eugene sat down as the full weight of the revelation hit her. Humanity wasn't just advanced. They were the invisible architects of galactic civilization. Every alien species, every government, every major event for over 2 centuries had been influenced by human intervention, and now, with alien fleets gathering outside the Becdu, the galaxy was about to learn that the small, seemingly weak human species was actually the most powerful force in known space. The question was, what would happen when everyone found out they had been living in a carefully managed galactic preserve with humans as the zookeepers? The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called for the first time in 60 years. Representatives from 43 species gathered in the Great Chamber on Nexus Station, their voices creating a chaos of anger, fear, and confusion. Hi. Councillor Velthara of the Ethereal Collective stood at the central podium, her crystalline form glowing with agitation. "Fellow beings," she announced, "we face the greatest deception in galactic history. The humans have been manipulating all of us for over 2 centuries. In the human section, President Haiwan Lim sat quietly with her small delegation. Earth's Representative Council was tiny compared to the massive alien fleets gathering outside. She knew that humanity was vastly outnumbered, and most species now considered them a threat. The evidence is undeniable," continued Velthara. "Human installations throughout the galaxy, hidden fleets, secret agents in our governments. They have been controlling us like puppets." War Commander Thaklon of the militant hegemony slammed his armored fist on his delegation's table. "The humans have made fools of us all. How many of our victories were their gifts? How many of our defeats were their punishments?" The bird-like representative of the Aquilan chorus spoke with a voice like singing wind. "Our greatest cultural achievements, were they even ours? Or were they human influences designed to keep us passive and artistic instead of developing military power?" President Haiwan finally stood. She was a small woman compared to most of the alien representatives, but her voice carried clearly through the chamber. "Honored delegates, humanity never sought to deceive you. We sought to protect galactic civilization from the chaos that typically destroys young spacefaring species." "Protect?" The silicon-based representative of the Crystalline Assembly's voice sounded like grinding stone. "You prevented our expansion into the Outer Rim through manufactured disasters. You cost us resources and territory that were rightfully ours. We prevented you from committing genocide against 17 peaceful species," President Haiwan replied calmly. "Your own military records, which we have copies of, show plans to eliminate any aliens you found in the Outer Rim." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Many species were realizing that their historical enemies had been right about human interference, while others were discovering that their greatest achievements had been helped by secret human guidance. Meanwhile, Captain Do-Hyun-Oh commanded the destroyer Soul's Pride as it patrolled the edge of human space. His ship was one of dozens trying to monitor the massive alien fleets that were gathering. What he saw worried him greatly. "Captain," reported his sensor officer, "the Ethereal Collective has assembled 847 ships in the Vega system. That's their largest fleet movement in living memory." "What about the others?" "The militant hegemony has over 1,200 vessels moving toward the frontier. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium is mobilizing their entire merchant marine. That's another 400 armed ships. Even the peaceful species are sending military forces." Captain Do-Hyun studied the tactical display. Against such numbers, the official human fleet didn't stand a chance. But he knew there were secrets his government hadn't told him. The discovery of the Becdu and the hidden installations suggested that humanity had resources no one knew about. Back on Nexus Station, the Galactic Council was voting on a resolution that would change everything. "The motion before us is clear," announced Velthara. "Humanity must surrender all hidden military assets and submit to galactic oversight. They must reveal the locations of all secret installations and provide complete records of their interference in our affairs." "And if they refuse?" asked the representative of the Saurian Republic. "Then we unite our fleets and force them to comply. Humanity has proven they cannot be trusted with the power they possess." President Hay-Wan requested permission to address the Council one final time. "Honored delegates, you are making a grave mistake. The Human Guardian Protocol has prevented 17 major wars, stopped 6 genocides, and guided the development of technologies that have improved life for billions. Without human oversight, galactic civilization will collapse into chaos within a generation." "Empty threats," growled War Commander Thakalon. "We survived before humans, and we will survive after you are brought to heel. You survived because we allowed you to survive," President Hay-Wan said quietly. "And if you force us to prove that, many of you will not like what you discover about the true balance of power in this galaxy." The vote was overwhelming. 38 species in favor of the ultimatum, 3 abstentions, and only humanity voting against. Earth was given 72 hours to surrender all hidden military assets or face the combined might of the galaxy's largest military alliance. As the Council session ended, President Hay-Wan activated her secure communication link to Admiral Sang-Ho Jung on Earth. "Admiral, they've given us 3 days to surrender everything. And if we refuse, then we face the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Over 3,000 warships from dozens of species, all united against us." Admiral Sang-Ho was quiet for a moment. "Madam President, I've been in contact with Aegis 7 and the other awakened systems. The AI wants to know if we're authorizing a full defensive response." "What does that mean exactly?" "According to Aegis 7, the Human Defense Network is designed to protect Earth and our colonies from any threat, regardless of size. But activating full defensive protocols would reveal capabilities that might change the nature of our relationships with other species permanently," President Hay-Wan understood. "If humanity showed its true military power, there would be no going back to the careful balance they had maintained for over 2 centuries. The galaxy would know that humans were not the weak species they appeared to be. How long do we have before the alien fleets reach our territory?" "Approximately 6 days. The ethereal collective is the closest, but they're waiting for the others to catch up. They want to present a united front." "And our chances if we fight with just our official fleet?" "0. We have 127 ships against over 3,000. Even with superior technology, we can't overcome those odds." President Hay-Wan looked out through the station's windows at the alien ships surrounding Nexus Station. Each vessel represented a species that now considered humanity an enemy. The peaceful cooperation of centuries was ending, and it was ending because humans had been too successful at protecting galactic civilization. "Admiral, begin preparations for full network activation, but don't implement anything yet. I want to give diplomacy one more chance." "Understood, Madam President." But as President Hay-Wan prepared to return to Earth, she knew that diplomacy was unlikely to succeed. The alien species felt betrayed and manipulated. They wanted to see humanity humbled, even if it meant destroying the very stability that human intervention had provided. In 72 hours, The galaxy would learn whether humanity was as powerful as their ancient AI claimed. And if they were, the revelation would change everything about how species related to each other in the known universe. The greatest test of human power was approaching, and this time it might not be possible to remain hidden behind the scenes. Admiral Kyung-min Nam stood on the bridge of the Baekdu as the massive supercarrier prepared for something no one in the galaxy had ever seen. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of over 3,000 alien warships moving toward human space in 12 separate fleets. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "all alien fleets will be in position within 18 hours. The ethereal collective is leading the advance, followed by the militant hegemony's war fleets. And our defensive preparations. The network is fully online. All hidden installations are operational. We have 847 monitoring stations, 156 defense platforms, and 23 shipyards ready for action. The Ghost Fleet is awaiting your orders." Admiral Kyung-min had been chosen to command humanity's response because of his experience with alien psychology. He understood that the approaching fleets weren't just seeking military victory. They wanted to humiliate humanity and prove that they could govern the galaxy without human interference. "Aegis 7, he said to the ship's AI, "begin the demonstration protocol. But remember, we want to convince them to back down, not start a war that will devastate the galaxy." "Acknowledged, Admiral. Initiating quantum projection systems." What happened next was impossible by every law of physics that the alien species understood. The Baekdu began to appear simultaneously in 12 different star systems. In the Vega system, where the ethereal collective's main fleet waited, a massive human supercarrier suddenly materialized in the center of their formation. High Counselor Velthara stared in shock as her sensors confirmed that the ship was real and solid, not a hologram or illusion. At the same time, the same ship appeared in the Wolf system, where the militant hegemony had gathered their forces. War Commander Thaklon watched in amazement as the Baekdu took position directly in front of his flagship, close enough that he could see figures moving on its bridge. In 10 other systems, alien commanders faced the same impossible sight: a single, human vessel that existed in multiple places at once. Each projection was completely real, able to interact with local space and respond to communications. "This is Admiral Kyung-min Nam of the United Human Systems." His voice reached all 12 fleets simultaneously. "I am speaking to you from the UHS Baekdu. Before you continue your advance toward human space, there are some things you need to, understand about the galaxy you live in." The alien fleet commanders tried to contact each other, only to discover that their communications were being blocked by some kind of interference. They could hear the human admiral, but they couldn't coordinate with their allies. "For the past 237 years, Admiral Kyung-min continued, humanity has been protecting galactic civilization from threats you never even knew existed. Allow me to show you some examples." The holographic displays on every alien ship suddenly activated, showing images that made their crews gasp in fear and amazement. They saw massive asteroid swarms that had been secretly diverted away from populated worlds. They watched as hidden human installations destroyed rogue black holes that could have consumed entire star systems. They witnessed human ships battling, creatures from dark space, things that lived in the emptiness between galaxies and fed on entire civilizations. The Kandorian system, Admiral Kyung-min narrated as the images showed a human fleet fighting something that looked like living. Shadow. 87 years ago, entities from outside our galaxy attempted to establish a foothold there. You never knew about this threat because human forces eliminated it before it could spread. More images followed. Plague ships from dead civilizations, automatically heading toward populated worlds to spread ancient diseases. Reality distortions caused by failed experiments with time travel. Artificial intelligences from extinct species that had gone insane and were trying to convert all organic life into machines. Every one of these threats was stopped by human intervention, the Admiral explained. While you were building your civilizations and fighting your small wars, we were protecting you from cosmic-level dangers. War Commander Thaklan of the militant hegemony tried to interrupt. These could be fabrications. How do we know any of this is real? Because your own sensor records confirm it, Admiral Kyung-min replied. AGS-7, transmit the verification data. Every alien ship suddenly received massive data files containing sensor readings, energy signatures, and detailed records. The Yucks. Information came from their own monitoring equipment, but it had been enhanced and clarified by human technology. The alien crews could verify that everything they were seeing was accurate. High Counselor Velthera of the Ethereal Collective realized the implications. You've been watching us, recording everything, for over 2 centuries. Yes, and that brings me to the main demonstration. The holographic displays changed again. Now they showed detailed schematics of every ship in every alien fleet. Not just the basic specifications, but complete technical details, including classified weapon systems, shield frequencies, structural weak points, and the names and psychological profiles of every crew member. We know everything about your fleets, Admiral Kyung-min said calmly. The quantum resonance frequency needed to collapse ethereal shields. The exact structural stress points that will disable militant hegemony armor plating. The chemical compound that will cause Zephyrian fuel cells to explode. To prove his point, he selected one small scout ship from each fleet, using precisely targeted energy beams that seemed to come from nowhere. The Baekdu disabled the ship's weapon systems without harming their crews. The beams struck from impossible angles, bypassing shields and armor as if they weren't there. This is what 237 years of observation and analysis can accomplish, the Admiral explained. We don't need to outnumber you or overpower you. We simply need to know you better than you know yourselves. The alien fleet commanders were beginning to understand the scope of what they faced. This wasn't just superior technology. This was complete tactical omniscience. Humans knew every weakness, every strength, every possible strategy their enemies might use. But Admiral Kyung-min wasn't finished with his demonstration. Now let me show you what we've been protecting you from recently. The displays showed current threats, a group of AI-controlled warships from a dead civilization that were heading towards Zephyrian space, a quantum storm in the galactic core that could disrupt faster-than-light travel throughout the galaxy. Most terrifying of all, signs that something vast and hostile was stirring in the dark matter structures between galaxies. These threats are active right now, the Admiral said. Human installations are currently working to neutralize them. If you destroy our network, if you force us to abandon our guardian role, these dangers will reach your worlds within months. High Counselor Velthara felt her crystalline form trembling. Are you threatening us? I'm informing you. The Guardian Protocol exists because someone must watch for cosmic-level threats. If humanity stops doing this job, who will take our place? Your species can barely cooperate long enough to form this temporary alliance. How will you handle threats that require coordination across centuries? The truth was settling in for the alien commanders. They had thought they were facing a deceptive but technologically advanced human government. Instead, they were confronting a species that had been serving as galactic guardians, protecting civilizations that didn't even know they needed protection. Furthermore, Admiral Kyung-min continued, your current alliance is already failing. Aegis 7, show them their internal communications. The displays revealed secret messages between the alien fleets. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium was planning to betray their allies and claim human technology for themselves. The militant hegemony had orders to eliminate the ethereal collective if they tried to take control of human installations. Several smaller species were already discussing surrender terms. You cannot even trust each other long enough to face a single human ship, the Admiral observed. How can you possibly replace the stability that human oversight has provided? The demonstration was complete. Humanity had shown that they could appear anywhere, knew everything, and could defeat any enemy without firing a shot. More importantly, they had proven that galactic civilization depended on human protection from threats beyond the imagination of most species. Admiral Kyung-min made his final statement. You have 72 hours to decide. Accept that humanity will continue serving as guardians of galactic civilization, or remove us and face the consequences of a truly unprotected galaxy. Choose wisely. The 12 projections of the Baekdu faded away simultaneously, leaving the alien fleets alone with the most difficult decision in galactic history. Political analyst Jae-hee Park sat in her office on Earth, watching 12 different news feeds from across the galaxy. What she was seeing had never happened before in galactic history. An alliance of over 40 species was falling apart in real time, and it was happening because of fear rather than military defeat. The Aquilan Chorus was the first to break, she reported to President Hae-won Lim during their emergency briefing. Their representatives announced that they're withdrawing from the alliance and requesting immediate negotiations with humanity. They said they'd rather trust the guardians they know than face the cosmic threats they don't. What about the others? The Saurian Republic is wavering. Their military leaders want to continue the alliance, but their scientists are terrified by the data Admiral Kyung-min showed them about the quantum storms. They're demanding more information about these cosmic-level threats. President Hae-won studied the reports coming in from human intelligence sources throughout the galaxy. The demonstration had worked better than anyone had hoped. Instead of uniting the alien species against humanity, it had shown them exactly how dependent they were on human protection. On the merchant world of Zephyr Prime, Trade Prince Veltar called an emergency meeting of the consortium's board of directors. His species had built their civilization on information and profit, and what they had learned about human capabilities terrified them. The humans have been managing galactic economics for over 2 centuries, he told the assembled merchants. Every major trade route, every resource discovery, every market crash. They had advanced knowledge because they caused most of it. Are you suggesting we surrender to them? Asked board member Kexhai. I'm suggesting we negotiate with them before the other species realize what we've realized. The humans don't need to conquer us. They already own us. Our entire economy exists because they allowed it to exist. Trade Prince Veltar made a decision that would reshape galactic politics. I'm authorizing immediate contact with human trade representatives. We will be the first species to formally acknowledge their authority in exchange for continued economic partnership. Meanwhile, the militant hegemony was facing its own crisis. War Commander Thaklon had spent his entire career believing in the strength of warrior culture and military superiority. The human demonstration had shattered that belief completely. Our fleets are superior to any individual alien species, he told his clan leaders during their council meeting. But the humans have shown us that individual species don't matter. They think on the scale of entire galaxies and geological time periods. Then we fight them anyway, declared clan leader Mordock. Better to die as warriors than live as pets. We wouldn't even die as warriors, Thacklon replied bitterly. They would disable our ships without damaging them, just like they did during the demonstration. We would be captured like children throwing tantrums, not killed like honorable enemies. The military culture of the hegemony couldn't handle the idea of an enemy that was too advanced to fight. Some clans wanted to continue the alliance, others wanted to negotiate separately with humanity, and a few were considering retreat to their homeworlds and isolation from galactic affairs entirely. But the most dramatic change was happening among the Ethereal Collective. High Counselor Velthara had spent 3 days in deep meditation, trying to understand the implications of what humanity had revealed. We pride ourselves on being the most advanced species in the galaxy, she told her. Council. Our science, our philosophy, our understanding of the universe, we believed we were the pinnacle of galactic civilization. And now we discover that we are students in a classroom, and the humans have been our invisible teachers for centuries. Every breakthrough we've made, every advancement in our understanding, how much was our own discovery, and how much was careful human guidance? The Ethereal Collective faced a crisis of identity. They had built their entire culture around the pursuit of knowledge and advancement. Learning that much of their progress had been secretly guided by another species was devastating to their self-image. Dr. Eugene Bay was monitoring the psychological impact of the revelation from her research station aboard the Baekdu. What she found was both fascinating and concerning. The different species are reacting exactly as Aegis 7 predicted, she reported to Admiral Kyungmin Nam. The merchant cultures are trying to negotiate profitable relationships. The warrior cultures are struggling with concepts of honor versus practicality. The intellectual cultures are having existential crises about the nature of their achievements. And the smaller species? They're mostly relieved. They never thought they were the dominant powers in the galaxy anyway, so learning that humans have been protecting them is actually comforting. The political changes were happening rapidly. Within a week of the demonstration, 17 species had formally requested to withdraw from the anti-human alliance. They were opening individual negotiations with Earth, hoping to secure favorable treatment by being early adopters of the new reality. Captain Sun Ho Lee was commanding the diplomatic vessel Harmony's Hope as it traveled between star systems, meeting with alien representatives who wanted to establish new relationships with humanity. What he found surprised him. Most of them aren't angry about the deception, he reported to Earth. They're grateful for the protection. The Crystalline Assembly actually thanked us for stopping their expansion into the Outer Rim. They said they've realized that genocide would have corrupted their crystal song culture permanently. What about the species that are still resisting? The Ethereal Collective is the main holdout. They're not opposing us militarily, but they're demanding a complete review of all human interventions in their history. They want to know which of their achievements were really theirs. This request led to one of the most difficult decisions in human history. Aegis 7 had complete records of every intervention in ethereal development over 237 years. The records showed that humans had guided roughly 60% of major ethereal scientific breakthroughs, either directly or indirectly. President Haiwan faced a choice: reveal the full extent of human involvement and risk destroying ethereal self-confidence, or maintain some level of secrecy and risk continued resistance. Aegis 7, she asked during a secure communication, what do you recommend? Based on psychological analysis, the ethereal collective will accept the truth better than continued uncertainty. Their culture values knowledge above comfort. However, the revelation should be gradual and accompanied by evidence of their genuine capabilities. The solution was elegant. Instead of simply listing interventions, human scientists began working openly with ethereal researchers. They showed how human guidance had accelerated natural ethereal discoveries rather than replacing them. The collaboration revealed that the ethereals were indeed highly capable. They had simply been learning faster than they realized. Within 2 months of Admiral Kyung-min's demonstration, the galaxy had been transformed. The military alliance against humanity had completely collapsed. Instead, a new structure was emerging based on voluntary cooperation with human oversight. Trade relationships were being rebuilt with humans as senior partners rather than hidden manipulators. Scientific cooperation was expanding as species realized they could advance faster with open human guidance. Military threats were being handled by combined forces with human coordination. But the most significant change was psychological. Every species now understood their place in a galaxy where humans served as guardians and guides. Some found this comforting, others found it challenging, but all of them recognized it as reality. The age of secret human influence was ending. The age of open human leadership was beginning. And surprisingly, most of the galaxy was grateful for the change. After all, it was better to have guardians you could see than guardians you never knew existed. 6 months after the Baekdu's emergence, Director Yoon-bi Cho stood in the newly constructed Galactic Guidance Council chamber aboard the massive space station that humanity had built in neutral space. The chamber was designed to accommodate representatives from 43 different species, with environmental controls that could support every type of alien physiology. The transformation has been remarkable, she reported during her address to the assembled delegates. Crime rates in major trade systems have dropped by 78%. Border conflicts between species have decreased by 89%. Technological advancement across all participating civilizations has accelerated by an average of 340%. The statistics were impressive, but Director Eunbi knew the real success was in the relationships that were forming. For the first time in galactic history, different species were working together openly with full knowledge of their relative capabilities and limitations. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium had become humanity's strongest ally. Trade Prince Veltar had established the new galactic currency system based on human quantum economic models. Instead of hiding their advanced knowledge of market forces, humans now openly shared their predictions and guidance. The humans told us exactly which trade routes would be profitable for the next 50 years. Veltar explained to other species leaders. Instead of discovering this through trial and error over decades, we can focus our efforts on routes we know will succeed. Everyone benefits from this efficiency. Admiral Insu Kang commanded the human fleet that had emerged from its centuries of hiding. The Ghost Fleet, as aliens called it, consisted of 847 ships that were more advanced than anything else in the galaxy. But instead of using these vessels as weapons of conquest, they served as guardians and peacekeepers. Our role is not to rule through force, he explained to his captains during their regular briefing. Our job is to make force unnecessary. When species see that cooperation with the Guidance Council is more profitable and safer than conflict, they choose cooperation. The transformation was visible everywhere. In the Kepler system, human engineers were working with crystalline assembly builders to construct new colonies that wouldn't damage the local ecosystem. The crystallines had learned that their previous expansion methods would have caused environmental disasters, and they were grateful for the guidance that helped them avoid those mistakes. In the wolf system, militant hegemony warriors were training alongside human military advisors. Instead of fighting each other in endless clan wars, they were learning to channel their warrior culture toward protecting peaceful species from cosmic threats. Honor is not found in conquest, War Commander Thak-Lon had declared to his people. Honor is found in protection. The humans have shown us that the greatest warriors are those who fight to preserve life, not to take it. Engineer Yejin Song led the technology-sharing programs that were revolutionizing galactic civilization. Instead of allowing species to develop dangerous technologies through trial and error, humans were providing guidance that prevented catastrophic mistakes. "We're not giving them our most advanced technology," she explained to concerned human officials. "We're helping them develop their own technology more safely. The Ethereal Collective is working on quantum communication systems that will eventually surpass our current capabilities. The Saurians are developing biological computers that could revolutionize information processing. We guide them away from dangerous dead ends, but their achievements are their own." The most successful example was the Aquiline chorus. The bird-like species had always been talented artists, but with human cultural guidance, they had developed forms of art that could communicate across species barriers. Their music could be understood and appreciated by any sentient being, regardless of their sensory capabilities. "We are still ourselves," explained chorus leader Skyim during a cultural exhibition. "But now we understand how to share our gifts with the galaxy. The humans didn't change who we are. They helped us become better at being who we are." Dr. Eugene Bay had been studying the psychological effects of the new order. What she found was encouraging. Instead of feeling conquered or controlled, most species reported feeling more secure and optimistic about their futures. The key was transparency, she noted in her research reports. When the human influence was secret, species felt manipulated. Now that it's open, they feel supported. They know they can ask for help when they need it, and they know they won't be abandoned to face cosmic threats alone. But the new order faced its first major test when Aegis 7 detected something troubling at the edge of the galaxy. The sensors showed massive objects moving in dark space, the empty regions between galaxies. These objects were larger than planets and seemed to be headed toward the Milky Way. Analysis indicates these are artificial constructs, Aegis 7 reported to Admiral Kyung-Min Nam aboard the Baekdu. They appear to be vessels or habitats created by an unknown civilization. Their trajectory will bring them into contact with our galaxy within 18 months. This was exactly the kind of cosmic-level threat that the Guardian Protocol had been designed to handle. But now, instead of dealing with it secretly, humanity would face it with the open support of the entire galactic community. Director Yoonbi Cho called an emergency session of the Guidance Council. For the first time, representatives from every major species worked together to plan a response to an external threat. "We face the unknown together," she announced. "Human technology and experience will lead the investigation, but this affects everyone. We will share all information, coordinate all responses, and face whatever comes as a united galaxy." The response was unprecedented. Zephyrian merchants began organizing supply lines for a potential long-term mission to the galactic edge. Militant hegemony warriors volunteered for dangerous reconnaissance missions. Ethereal collective scientists offered to help analyze any alien technology they might encounter. Even smaller species contributed their unique abilities to the effort. captain, Hyunwoo Park, the salvager who had started this entire chain of events by discovering the Baek-du, was given command of the exploration mission. His mining vessel had been upgraded with the latest human technology, but it still carried the name that had become famous throughout the galaxy: Daehan Glory. "It seems appropriate," Admiral Kyung-min had said when making the assignment. "The ship that discovered humanity's past will help discover our future." As the months passed, the new galactic order proved its value. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together. Technologies that had been developed in isolation were being combined in ways that benefited everyone. The galaxy was becoming stronger, more unified, and more capable of facing whatever challenges might emerge from the vast darkness between the stars. The Baek-du, which had once been a symbol of hidden human power, now served as the mobile headquarters of an open alliance between species. Its massive factories produced equipment and supplies for dozens of different civilizations. Its laboratories hosted research teams that included the best minds from across the galaxy, but perhaps most importantly, its bridge served as a meeting place where different species could work together as equals, guided by human experience, but not controlled by human authority. "This is what we always wanted," President Hae-won Lim reflected during a private moment with director Yoon-bi. "Not an empire built on conquest, but a civilization built on cooperation. It took revealing our power to achieve our goal of using that power wisely." As the Baek-du prepared to depart for its mission to investigate the mysterious objects approaching from dark space, the entire galaxy watched with hope rather than fear. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. The age of secret guardians had ended. The age of open cooperation had begun, and humanity had finally found its proper role, not as invisible puppet masters, but as visible guides helping galactic civilization reach its full potential. The galaxy had been shattered by the revelation of human power. But from those pieces, something stronger and more beautiful had been built. A true galactic community, united not by conquest but by choice, protected not by deception, but by mutual commitment to survival and growth. And at its heart flew the Baek-du, no longer a ghost from the past, but a guardian sailing toward the future.